All right, we're back for the review of the Afghan Sri Lanka game. Nikhil Bhai and I are as ecstatic as we could be. Fantastic win for them, and come on, we no longer can call these wins upsets, man. Like
Obviously.
even the last time against Pakistan, we were slightly hesitant, but this time around, this is a proper outing. Anirudh, what do you have to say, man? Like this really looks like a very solid Afghan team right now.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even call it an upset, definitely, because the team that qualified automatically beat the team that came through the qualifiers. So, if you call it an upset, it will be bizarre, first of all. So, but again, I am surprised how easy the win turned out to be. Just like the Pakistan match, it turned out to be a regulation win, and you could see the faces of Hashmatullah and Azmatullah towards the end. They were not even like pumped. It felt like they almost expected to win. So we saw the reaction after the England match where they were like ecstatic. Then the Pakistan match, they were definitely happy because they finally got one over Pakistan. But I felt they entered this match knowing that they were probably favorites. I mean, in their mind, probably they were favorites. Although I felt that Sri Lanka entered the match as favorites, it felt like Afghanistan expected to win the match, and it was a clinical performance that you expect from a top side. So full props to Afghanistan, keeping their semi-final hopes still alive. They still have only an outside chance, but it's great that they're still in the running. 30 matches into the World Cup, so full credit to Hashmatullah and the whole side for being such a clinical unit.
100%. And Nikhil Bhai, the one major concern for Afghanistan in the last few years at least had been how their batters weren't comfortable chasing and how they hadn't been able to come up with, proper solid performances. And we've seen that change in this tournament. Like first against Pakistan last week and now, of course, against Sri Lanka. They were at ease during the chase. Like Anirudh mentioned, not once did it seem like Afghanistan weren't in control. They didn't have to break a sweat. It also helped that they weren't chasing too high a target. But even then, what do you think has changed? Like, would you attribute some of this to Jonathan Trott, like what he's brought into the setup? Shabash, nice Nikhil bhai, congratulations. Gurkirat nahi hai
Ah,
to
thank you. You had to fill in. You had to fill in.
exactly.
I'm actually still stuck at this page, which is why I forgot to unmute. K. In the preview, if you saw the mega preview, so there were 5 games that we expect Afghanistan to play a very good game. Versus in Delhi versus England, that's already happened. In Chennai versus New Zealand and Pakistan, they should have won. I would not say won. They should have taken their catches in New Zealand, and they definitely won versus Pakistan. They have one more game remaining in Lucknow, and they have already ticked off the Sri Lanka game at Pune. So it's as good as it can get. And again, the confidence came from the fact that they are a very settled unit. This one more picked on merit as opposed to looking to get somebody from wilderness, which is something that we've seen often with Afghanistan, but that didn't happen in this one. And so for them to be able to just do the roles well, I think today they were exceptional with the ball because it was with the ball that they set the game up so well that they were never going to be pushed with the bat from Sri Lanka because the score was such that on that wicket I don't know what Sri Lanka was trying to do, to be very honest with you, because at no point of time, because in this game, there is no turning point.
Yeah,
Because Sri Lanka were never on top. And it isn't like, Afghanistan allowed the game to drift. They never had to. Sri Lanka never wanted to take the game deep, or they probably felt that, we'll get in and we'll get going. But you look at that scorecard, so many people have gotten starts, so many people, but not one of them has gone on to score a very big, 50 plus score or even a higher one. Because you have 5 guys who've played more than 30 balls. Nissanka is 46 of 60. That's right on cue to get the summary. Kusal Mendes 39 in 50. You have Samara Vikrama 36 in 40. And even lower down, you have Asalanga playing 28 balls for 22. Dhananjay played 26 for 14. Matthews played 26 for 14. And of all of this, the best strike rate was for Mahesh Tikshana, who scored 29. So it is just as random as a scorecard can get for Sri Lanka that everybody got in, but nobody got going. So credit to Fazalak firstly for being able to just get the wickets at the right time because he got Karunaratne early and then he came back to then take care of the end. But I think a comprehensive bowling performance from Afghanistan. And then we saw in the last game as well, you don't usually associate clinical with Afghanistan, and now you have they done that twice in a row, and that just tells you how great they have been in terms of rule clarity. I think we all saw that picture from Jonathan Trott where he had marked up where they had to be, and they were on course. Probably only the 20 over mark is where they missed it. So it just tells you how good, methodical, and as professional as it can be. So kudos to Afghanistan, really well done.
100%. Just wanted to bring that up. Like, Anirudh, to see these teams, these so called minnows, so called sort of underperforming teams, to be so clinical in their approach, so professional in their practice. We've spoken about Netherlands, about how they've been the most well planned team coming into every game. And to see something like that happening with the Afghanistan, they really seem to have right the wrongs from their previous Sri Lanka encounter where they did not know 38.1 or 2 and all of that. Again, bodes well for ODI cricket, would you say? Performances like these, games like these?
Oh, 100%, because let's not forget they have probably taken a huge step towards qualifying for the 2025 Champions Trophy with this win. They have 3 wins. I think one more win will definitely guarantee qualification for CT 2025, but there is a good chance they can qualify even with 6 points. So, it is a huge moment for Afghanistan cricket. It is a huge moment for international cricket if Afghanistan can somehow make it to CT 2025. And let's not forget that tournament will most likely be played in Asia as well. Like you said, Pakistan is supposed to be the host, so even if it gets moved, you expect it to happen somewhere in the subcontinent. So they will be stronger, hopefully, even stronger than what they are in 2 years' time. So really, really impressive. And I mean, I'm just so happy that Afghanistan have finally taken the next step, and they've done it very early, because I was really apprehensive about their chances heading into the World Cup, especially after seeing the two T20 World Cups where they fell short, even though they had opportunities to win matches. After seeing the Asia Cup where they fell short despite having opportunities to win matches. After seeing what happened in the 2019 World Cup, and after seeing all these close matches where they were like good, not probably good enough, I was thinking that, look, this will be another World Cup where they maybe have one or two close games, but they never beat any side or never make things happen. But beating England, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka in the span of 4 matches, and having a very good bowling performance against New Zealand as well, it is simply mind blowing that they have done it, and they have turned the page. Like this, they have turned the page. So let's hope that they carry this same attitude and carry forward the confidence heading into the last part of the tournament, and maybe get one or two more wins under their belt.
And just to
100%.
add to Anirudh's point, the biggest positive for them is these wins haven't come in certain conditions. These
Yeah,
wins have come in decent batting conditions, not entirely playing to Afghanistan's strengths. And the guys who've come good, you look at the people who've done well. Noor Ahmed, again, you'll expect that to have come through versus Pakistan, who struggled versus left arm spin. So that's a good matchup there. But with the bat, they were very clinical against a side that is always going to say that they have one of the best bowling attacks in the world. So that's a compliment there. And even today, it is Pune. It isn't a turner where they spun the ball. You look at the wickets also that Mujib got. You look at the wickets Fazal got later on. Then these aren't conditions where it is stopping and coming, and it is not easy to bat. So and it's not even that it's the same guys. It's not Nabi Rashid all the time. So that is, I think, even a bigger positive for them, that you have Fazala coming in, putting in performances. You got Noor Ahmed came in, did well. Azmatullah, not today, came good very with the bat. Finally, right usage. Been
yeah,
screaming about using Azmatullah right, and they used him with Naveen Ullah. That is great. So they are also showing signs in terms of even getting better in terms of tactics, and that is as good as it can be for a side that suddenly, no, tomorrow you don't have to always think Rashid Khan Nabi nahi karega, to kuch nahi karega. No, they have Fazalak, they have Mujib, they have Naveen, and with the bat, Rahmat and Hazmat. I mean, we've all spent enough time talking about their strike rates, but they've all again once shown us that if you get one department right, it will ensure that the other department doesn't have to really go too far from it. So kudos to them to be able to hit sides as a unit.
yeah.
100% that, and in terms of some of the names you took there, like one of the concerns was, of course, Rahmat Shah, Hashmat, all of them, having low strike rates. And like you mentioned, if the bowlers, come up with their A game, the batters wouldn't have to strike at 100, which is probably one way of trying to solve the problem. Not the best way, probably, but who cares? At the end of the day, they are the ones with the 2 points, so that's all that matters. Meanwhile, Satya Panishwar, don't he comes up with a great taunt. He says, "I think the biggest upset in this World Cup is Bangladesh beating Afghanistan," and that's actually true. I really agree with him. And had Afghanistan defeated Bangladesh, and they really would have, they would have been fighting with New Zealand properly toe to toe for that final, semi-final spot. Fortunately, not to be the case. But again, all's not lost. It's just that the remaining fixtures, if I'm not wrong, they play Netherlands, of course, next in Lucknow, which you would imagine they would start favourites given. How they have superior spinners and how Netherlands in general have struggled against spin. Australia and South Africa and Mumbai and Ahmedabad respectively. Like, had it been slightly favorable venues, maybe I could have still given them some doubt. But Australia, Wankhede, Anirudh, what do you think? I don't think Anirudh would be caring would be too bothered about that game.
Look, I mean, if you had asked me a week ago, I would have probably said that Afghanistan did not stand a chance against Australia at a venue like Wankhede. But after these two performances, I'm sure that they will kind of enter into that match at least hoping that they can do some serious damage, because they do have a couple of good pacers. They have an opening partnership that is very reliable. They have in Rahmat Shah and Hashmatullah people who can even withstand good bowling. So it's not like the result will be pre-written or something like that. And who knows what kind of a surface we'll be seeing. Like Wankhede also, there are certain surfaces in Wankhede that tend to turn a lot. So maybe we've been seeing the flat Wankhede, but now that the semi-finals are nearing and India are going to play in the semi-finals, we'll start seeing the turning Wankhede. And that
I
might.
was waiting for that googly to come in from Anirudh, but unfortunately, it's halfway down the leg side. It's okay.
But yeah, I mean, I'm all for seeing Afghanistan beat a resurgent Australian side. But yeah, coming back to the game, it's time to move on to the first segment, which of course is top performer. Well, when it comes to performances, there were quite a few for Afghanistan. Not so much for the Lankans, unfortunately. And Nikhil Bhai mentioned how Lankan batters did not really get going. Matlab, they had starts, but none of them really converted. Afghanistan, on the other hand, saw a duck, and the others who got a start ended up scoring a 50, a nice 50, good enough for them to be able to chase 242 with ease. But Anirudh, coming to you in terms of top performer, who are you going with?
I mean, I think it's obvious. I have to go with Faruqi if you're asking about the entire match. It is hard to look beyond Fazal Haq Faruqi because, again, he took that crucial first wicket, and also he just kept chipping away with wickets while also keeping the runs down. So, and also the wicket of Charit Asalanka was also, probably it saved at least. Look, you should say it saved at least 25 to 30 runs because we know that Asalanka is someone who can cause real damage towards the end, especially when he's set. So you never know, right? If Sri Lanka had added 275, 280 instead of the 240 they posted, maybe the chase might have been slightly tricky. So great character from Fazalak, because let's not forget he was the one who had to make way for Noor Ahmed in the Chennai match. But he could have been dejected or whatever that he got dropped, but now after coming back he's made a real statement, and he needed a performance like this before, because Fazal Haq has, even though we know him as this great new ball bowler who can cause damage up front, he's not really been really lethal up front of late in the last 10 or so matches. He had that wicket of Johnny Bairstow, but that's all he has to show for before this match. But he's really made a performance of note. So for me, I have no doubt that Fazal Haq is the top performer in this contest.
Nikhil Bhai, you concur with Anirudh there, or do you have someone else in your head?
My answer is the same, nothing different.
Yeah, and apologies for my internet acting up. I'm not sure if the graphic went up properly or not. But in
It went.
terms of his performance today, 10 overs, 4 for 34, as good a spell as it can get. Got some key wickets there as well. But I particularly want to talk about Umar Zai as well. Today, you know how he bowled. Nikhil Bhai did mention that his usage was much better. But on air, I also heard, the likes of Aaron Finch and Simon Rule talking about him being a partnership breaker for Afghanistan, and how he was brought every time he was brought in, he was able to either take wickets or sort of control, stem the flow of runs from one end. Not to be the case at the death, but Anirudh, do you agree with what they had to say in terms of how Umar Zai's bowling was today?
Wait, whatever it's about Omozai's bowling, I'll let Nikhil answer it. So he
Fair
has
enough.
been crying about Umar Zai's bowling for the last God knows how long. So let him take this.
I think it's a fair call as well. See, it's also because when they've used him, he's just found a way to strike. Now, that is a combination of a lot of factors that they've built pressure from one end, and it has resulted in chances versus him. And at this point of time, Akshay staring at me like that feels very awkward because he's stuck with the internet. But maybe let's take a screenshot, which we can then troll him later for. But coming back to Omar's, I very glad that they are able to just find the right usage. Still feel he can possibly be the guy who they probably want to look for more control from him, which is why they don't always probably not giving him the new ball. But I think there are areas for him to work on. But with respect to breaking partnerships, I mean, if you have Sachin Tendulkar endorsing for you to be bowling with a new
Yeah,
ball, there is nothing that I am going to say that is going to really make a difference there, because it's there. The potential has always been there. It's good that they are using him like this. And again, I think he uses short ball as well, sometimes excessively, but at least he's getting good enough time. And I think his role should only grow, because not every time will they play sides or on decks that will aid spin. And you will want to get into a stage where there could be a time that you could possibly play four paces. Now, that is not something that you usually associate with Afghanistan. But if they have two very good ones, like how India they play three pacers, and the fourth pacer can be Azmatullah, and that could be a great place to
yeah,
be in. So I think again, not saying that he can be the next Hardik Pandya, but he has all the potential to play a very crucial role for them, and it also is batting at a very good spot. So that's
yeah,
also a very important spot for a side. And he has the game versus spin. He showed that today as well. He showed it against India as well, that he got himself in and then went after Kuldeep and got those sixes. Even today,
yeah.
he was more than happy to take the short baller. And I think the last ball just sums up Sri Lanka
Sri
today.
Lanka's night. Yeah.
They had a chance. They got a top edge, but Asalanka just drops a dolly, and it's just sums up Sri Lanka today. That they, I don't know. I really can't fathom what Sri Lanka would feel about this
So
game. Really, honestly.
So, I mean, let's just coming to Sri Lanka. So, I guess we can all agree that I mean, we were praising them for their fearless batting approach before the match started, but not sure what happened today. It was just a complete, you know, a complete 180 in terms of the approach they took right from the get go. So I just wanted to ask you about one player before we move to the turning point section, which is what do you think of DDS and what's gone wrong with him? What can you just talk a bit about DDS? And I just want to ask: is there potential for Sri Lanka to probably, let's say, play Vilalage as a number six batter instead of DDS, because they're not getting anything from DDS anyway? So how do you see? And I also like you to take the Velalage question. Take into factor that Sri Lanka are clearly missing another wicket-taking spinner in the middle overs. So that was evident today as well. Tikshina had no support. So is
Yeah.
there a, is there a way Velalage can probably bat in the top six and also play as a second spinner going forward? Do you see merit in such a move?
It's interesting you ask that, because we discussed this very point just a few Sri Lankan games back, where I had a theory. Now you can dispel it if you feel it's very random. See, I feel they're going by DDS's performances in the white ball format, in the red ball
Red ball.
format, and where he's done a lot of resurrection jobs, that innings is not going as per plan. So he's the guy who's able to just hold an innings up and then play knocks and play impressive knocks, and then with the ball also is able to turn up. But I don't think that should necessarily mean that it will happen in the white ball form, because I feel DDS is a kind of player who is best suited in the top order. I even suggested this randomly that if Kusal Perez is not working, you throw DDS up top.
Yeah,
There is no reason for you to not use DDS up top. You are more likely to get him to score like 5, 6 boundaries in the power play. And again, he's not bad versus the moving ball. I mean, he's a decent number 6 in Test cricket. So he is most likely playing at times versus a second new ball, or with the tail at times. So it isn't that he's not used to it. I feel that's probably the only way to get something more out of him, because number 6 is too low. Uh, and I don't know why they have stuck there with him. I feel they can really, and with the ball, see, he's good on certain decks, but again, if you I feel he's a confidence guy. So
yeah,
if he gets runs, he automatically be in a much better position to bowl better. So that's where I felt they could potentially use him up or not play him at all. As you said, you might as well play Velalage there, and and again, Velalage is no mug. I mean, he's very good, and with the ball also, yeah, it was against Afghanistan only that it was Velalage who was given the ball in that very game, where Velalage took 2 wickets in an over. So I think that's where they probably need a bit more. I think the role clarity is there, but it's probably the role getting assigned to the wrong person for that job. So uh, I think in terms of that, DDS hasn't shown anything with both bat and ball this World Cup. So I felt if they want to use, they could use him up top, or as you say, you can play Velalage. It won't be too big or too high for him as well. You have to back the youngster; he has the potential.
And also, we're forgetting Hasranga. He'll also be back in the
Yeah.
mix, post the World Cup. Something we spoke during our Monday Night Live episode. So, guys, if you haven't checked it out, do check it out. We had a journalist from Sri Lanka, Hindustan, joining us. He did speak about how Hasranga could potentially be a direct replacement for DDS at that number 6 spot. If not, Hasranga could probably play a spot lower. So, yeah, I mean, probably DDS's days are numbered, given that Velalge, Hasranga, both of them are breathing down his neck in terms of the number 6, number 7 spot. Maybe as a left field choice, like Nikhil mentioned, promoting him up the order could do him a world of good. He's been a fantastic test player for me, especially for Sri Lanka cricket. When I say fantastic, of course, I say that with a bit of, sort of exaggeration, only because, the kind of resurrections he's done, like Nikhil Bhai mentioned, too good. The numbers might not reflect that, at surface level, but he's been a really good batter for them. Anyways, let's quickly
Yeah,
move on to
see,
the next segment.
sir, even my
Oh, yeah.
numbers, he's averaging 39 batting at 6. And I don't think that's bad at all.
Yeah.
If he's
True,
batting
true,
at 5,
true,
6,
true.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Given that we're playing in times where it is always almost turning or doing stuff.
Correct.
So at that spot, I think it's okay.
That was just me sort of, playing that front foot defense, being on the safer side. ऐसा जोश में बोल दिया नहीं, उसके numbers भी अच्छे और पता चला अच्छे नहीं. So I was like, even if his numbers might not reflect that, that's how I wanted to put it.
Fair.
But yeah, let's quickly move on to the next segment. And once again, sorry guys, my internet has been acting up. Hopefully it's fixed for now. Let's quickly talk about the turning point, not of this show, not of my internet, of the game. Nikhil bhai probably might have mentioned कि नहीं है भाई कुछ है नहीं. Of course there is. We will find one if there isn't one. So yeah, let's go quickly into the segment. Yep, turning point. Anirudh, क्या लगता है? What was the turning point? I have a feeling Nikhil bhai will mention वो toss ऐसा घूमा तो वो turn हुआ तो बस वही था. So let's sticking only to the 100, not 100, close to 95 overs of game that we saw. What do you think
Yeah.
was the turning point today?
Yeah. So, I mean, I thought that was a clear turning point. That was the double strike from Mujib that removed both Mendes and Samara Vikrama. Because, after Nisanka got out, Mendes and Samara Vikrama kind of were building a very good positive partnership for the first time. I thought Sri Lanka were on the front foot. Samara Vikrama especially started off really positively against the spinners. But then Mendes just hold out to the deep fielder, and Samara Vikrama misjudged the length of I think it was a googly from Mujib, if I'm not wrong, and it just went downhill for Sri Lanka from there. So, considering both these guys are capable of scoring at least 80s, 90s, if not tons, Afghanistan at least saved 60 to 70 runs by the virtue of these two strikes from Mujib. So I feel that Sri Lanka badly needed at least 60, 70 more runs from this partnership to post a par score. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be.
Fair enough. Nikhil bhai, what about you in terms of turning points?
No, if there is one, that is the only one, because I don't think at any other time that you felt that Sri Lanka were ahead, or they had a potential to run away with the game. So the point where Anuj mentions, that was possibly a point where they could have gone ahead with the game. So they probably just snapped it before they could get ahead, and again, fair to call it a turning point.
100%. And also, just talking about how the game went on, Anirudh, you predicted the score to be around 320. Nikhil bhai had said 290, and consequently, of course, I did say 260. But again, this that wasn't the case to be. Do you think the surface was slightly slower than what we saw, in the India-Bangladesh game that happened last week, or do you think it was the Sri Lankan batters for some reason not scoring enough, not scoring quick enough?
I thought it was a slightly slower surface than the India Bangladesh match, because we saw in the second innings as well. There were a couple of balls that stopped on the surface that led to a couple of leading edges, and a couple of bouncers which were near dismissals. So that's why I had the feeling that maybe if Sri Lanka could get 290, 295, the chase might have been completely different. But still, this was, you could offer this surface to any side and they'll be very happy with it. I don't think any side is going to complain that this is a slow surface or a tacky surface, or anything like that. So overall, I thought it was Pune being Pune, but maybe a touch on the slower side. But I don't think there's any fault with it. Is not a 240 pitch, just like how Chinnaswamy England Sri Lanka was not a 156 pitch. So
Fair enough. And guys, before we forget, please make sure you're hitting the like button. Do like the stream. Make sure you've subscribed to us if you haven't already. Liking the stream helps YouTube promote the video. So that's unfortunately how the algorithm works. So we have to bring it up. Please, please, please make sure you do that. We'll keep taking your comments as well as and when possible. So do keep your comments coming in. Do keep your questions coming in. And Nikhil bhai, Aniro did mention this wasn't a 240 surface, maybe slightly on the slow side, just a touch slow, but not, you can't really call it slow by any means. We did speak about Rajata, Chamira, all of these coming into the picture today, because how they've played against Afghanistan and their numbers against Afghanistan previously maybe giving us the idea that they could do well today. Dilshan Madhushankar did start off very well. That beautiful in swinger got Gurbaz out. But why do you think Chamira and Rajita weren't as penetrative as expected to be? Because again, the surface wasn't the worst. It's not like the surface wasn't friendly enough. Were they bored today, or do you think Afghan batters were really on top of their game?
See, I think there are a couple of factors there. One is definitely the score, which meant that Afghanistan never had to have the pressure that we really need to get 65, 70 in the power play. So that means you're automatically not going to take undue risk. And secondly, this is just one thing that I love the most about ODIs and the power plays. When you have a pacer coming in and he misses his line or length by a margin, you see a very good punches and drives, and that's what you saw from both Rahmat and Ibrahim there. There was especially that one back foot punch that Ibrahim played. The ball was very close to him. There was very little room for him to even go like this. So he punched from the body and it still pinged off the bat to the fence. So it just told you it was very good batsmanship, and also because the rate wasn't much, they didn't have to do anything else. And both you saw that with Rahmat as well, that he was just leaning into those drives, caressing them nicely into the gap. So that's what the score does to you. So if you compare it to say what India tried to do with the surface yesterday, but that was far different surface for them to be able to exploit things out of it. I don't think this surface had enough to be able to get the juice out. So you had to either go short or be very disciplined. But the point is, because the rate was never in doubt, then they were never going to get put out by or too many dot balls, because they always kept, because there was a period from I think over number 11 to 19 or 20 they didn't hit a single boundary. But that's what amazes me the most about Afghanistan. They still did not play a shot in anger or a shot purely out of frustration that we are not getting the boundary. So it just tells you that if a side did not even feel the need to go for a boundary for 10 overs. It means how much controlled they are in their head about how they want to go about this. So I think that speaks volumes in terms of the preparation done and the confidence that they have shown in their abilities that will be able to cover it up. Because Somesh was there at the venue, and I'm sure he'll say कि किसी ने bore कर दिया. But it is it is fascinating how you can just find different ways to play the same game, and some days it will come off, some days it will not. Today it came off perfectly for Afghanistan. I think Sri Lanka will be disappointed even with this score, because you feel the bowling attack that they have. Chamira, Kasun Rajita, Dilshan Madhushanka, Mahesh Dikshina. It's not a bad front four to have. So, and the problem would be they didn't create enough chances. More so after getting Gurbaz early. So I think that is where they'll probably feel that they will feel that they should have probably done better also. Yeah,
Yeah,
Nirul.
and also, yeah, the one point also I want to make is that the two things is that in throughout this World Cup we have not seen teams run through opposition with the new ball. Like even Stark, Bolt, and Shaheen and all these guys have struggled, right? So first of all, I think you can't expect teams to defend 240, especially on a surface like Pune. So I don't think you can even put a bit of blame on Sri Lankan seamers. I think they tried a lot, especially Madhushanka and Chamira were both, at least till the last 10 overs, they were like pretty good, and they created enough. They did whatever they could, I felt, on that surface. And secondly, I just feel that Sri Lanka is really handicapped by the absence of a attacking spinner in the middle overs. Even Tikshana, for all his mystery, is still a defensive spinner by nature. He's not gonna be one that's gonna bamboozle teams or run through teams in the middle overs unless the wicket is like a very classic Chennai wicket or something like that. So unfortunately for them, they have lost Hasaranga. I still feel that if they had lost Tikshana due to injury rather than Hasaranga, they might still have competed better in certain matches because of the taking thread Hasaranga would have brought in the middle overs. But now they know that if they can play the pacers out up front, there is no threat in the middle overs, no wicket taking threat unless you throw your wicket away. That's what happened in the Netherlands matches where they lost like 6 wickets for 80 runs, but they still managed to 268. So unless I mean Sri Lanka can do nothing about it for the rest of the tournament, unfortunately. But if there's one big takeaway from this campaign for Sri Lanka, it is that they desperately need to groom another spinner who can serve as a proper attacking option in the middle overs, because Hasaranga's fitness is becoming unreliable by the day. So they just can't have Tikshana and just part timers operating in the middle overs.
Fair enough. It is time to wrap up the review. We'll just take a couple of questions, the questions that you guys have asked us right now before we end this. Let's start with Santa D. Cruz. He asked us who among the Afghan spinners have had more impact in the last 6 games, Nabi, Mujib, or Rashid. They've all had their their share of wickets and important ones as well. But if you had to pick one, who would you go with? Anirudh, you can probably start with this. One Afghan spinner that you think has had the most impact in this World Cup.
Oh my god, that is the toughest question I'll be answering in this show ever. I guess it is very tough. But I'll just say Mujib because of the magnitude of the wickets he has taken. He took Root, he took Harry Brook in those two crucial wickets in that match. And here he's taken Samara Vikrama and Mendes, basically the heart of Sri Lanka's batting. So yes, he had an off day against New Zealand and was not great against Pakistan, but uh, he's played a huge part in two of the three wins that Afghanistan have scored. So I'll go with Mujib.
Fair enough. Nikhil Bhai, what about you?
I'll go with Rashid because I feel he's bowled far better than what his figures reflect. He had plenty of catches dropped in that New Zealand game, so he himself will want to forget about that one. Even against Pakistan, I think he bowled exceptionally well. Never left the stumps. Created just like today. He had many edges. Two, I clearly remember, Charita Salanka just going past the keeper, and I don't know. Maybe in one of the coming games, he might probably end up with a fifer by bowling worse. But in the last few games, I think he's done really well. to not give away a lot of boundaries. And he may not have gotten the wickets, but I think he was very good over a period of time. So consistently, as compared to Mujib, and as he said, Mujib was also great, but the threat was always there with Rashid. So hopefully those 4 or 5 wickets are also coming along the way.
You know
Yeah, I
where
was
the
hoping.
cipher is coming. It's at 1K day. It's just written in the stars, right?
I mean, all for it. I'm all for it. So let's hope that actually.
Everybody going across the line to good length, fast into the stumps.
Yeah, true. I actually thought at least one of you would go for Nabi because in two of the three wins, at least I remember the Pakistan and the England wins, Nabi actually played a very important role. Might not have taken a lot of wickets.
Yeah.
He bowled. I mean, he conceded under three in both the games, if I'm not wrong, or probably he just about went at three in the last game against Pakistan. Very, very, very tight spell. Was very accurate. And it actually helped. It gave them that breathing room because they, of course, cannot keep bowling Mujib and Rashid. And Nabi was the right sort of bowler to go to, especially if your batting order is packed with left-handers. Then Nabi could be even more dangerous. He likes bowling to left-handers as well. So that was I actually was going for him, assuming कि आप दोनों में से एक तो जाएगा तो हाँ
Good
में हाँ
balance
मिला
shot.
लूंगा. ठीक है यार पूरा टीम सबका हो गया. We've taken all the three names now. Just one last question. Kanan B goes on to ask us, could Sri Lanka try Vilalge to open? That brings variety to the attack. And also, if it clicks, it's great for the future. We anyway historically have not been alien to such out of the box ideas. He also had asked us previously about Matthews and Aslanka probably swapping their places in the order because Aslanka is someone who can tonk the ball down the order. So dono matlab in terms of Sri Lanka's batting, Nikhil bhai, you can probably take this up. One is of course Velalge opening, and second Aslanka and Matthews, sort of swapping their places in the order. Any merit in either of those decisions?
See, the Matthews one you can still try. I was actually very honestly surprised that they didn't send him higher up the order because he's your quintessential the middle order guy. I mean, he's done it for a living for a long time. So they could have definitely tried that. And again, it's not about rating one over the other. It's just about trying to use them in a position where they could contribute to the side more on that very given day. So that's for that. And for Velalage, I think there's still time to expose him to the new ball is what I feel. There have been some dismissals in the past where you have felt the short ball has probably gotten to him. He'll play. He'll get better at that for sure. But I think at this point of time, I'd want him to just settle into the team, get consistent games, see how he goes at six, and then if you feel he has a great, I still feel that he has a great game. But for opening, it has far more different challenges thrown at you in terms of dealing with his pace. So, which is why I feel Dhananjay De Silva, who I think probably plays pace better in terms of finding the gaps, is why I wanted to push him up the order. Okay, not a low value wicket, but a guy who could really come off up top. So that is the logic there. Let's see if they are ever tempted to go down this route.
Fair enough. All right, that's it from the review of today's game. Tomorrow, of course, is the 31st game of the tournament. It's also the 31st day of the month. It's Halloween as well. A happy Halloween for all of you who celebrate, or for those of you who celebrate. Tomorrow is going to be the second game in Kolkata. It's Bangladesh taking on Pakistan. Another rivalry, so to say, another Asian derby. Very interested to see how both the teams go because both the teams have been woefully out of form. Both the teams would be, badly looking for a win. Pakistan's pace attack, Bangladesh pace attack in a venue like the one at Eden Gardens. You never know. You never know. We've seen funnier things happen. Hopefully, we'll at least see a spicy contest, a proper race to the bottom. Lots to look forward to tomorrow. I'm guessing it'll be Nikhil, Gurkirat, and Avnish, of course, to take both of you through, and of course, all of you through into the game. That's it from us today. Thank you so much. Have a great day, guys, and of course, have a great game tomorrow. Bye bye.
Cheers.